Hey, everybody, welcome back to the DLF Trade Show. However many weeks in a row, still the best trade show on the DLF YouTube channel. Still crushing it, Addison. Still crushing.
We're so good.
So good. All right. Well, what we do here, we picked a topic, we pick a player, we pick a few players. Addison runs it through the Trade Finder to find a couple of trades so we can talk about their values. And to one up our game, we use, well, I say we like I do any of it. Addison then puts it into the DLF Trade Analyzer and gives us some actual real numbered values to also discuss how we feel about these trades. And lately, we've been sort of going along the lines of topics more than players. Last week, we did players to trade for when you're rebuilding. What comes next? Well, I guess, let's face it, if you listened last week, you don't have to listen this week, right? I mean, you're either building or you're competing, right?
Hey, maybe there are multiple leagues. One of their leagues is in this direction, one's in that direction.
I mean,
Everybody needs to be
there's
listening.
people like me who are in like double digits of leagues. It's not just me. Okay, cool.
Maybe
That
not
makes
double
me
digit. But
okay. All right. All right. I'm just messing around. Yes, clearly you're all in many, many leagues. You're going to have some rebuilding, some competing. But right now, we're going to be talking about players to trade for when you're competing. And we try and give you at least one person from a couple of different positions. We listed like 8 people. Addison picked, so I don't even really know who he picked besides who I see on the screen right now because I try not to scroll ahead because it's more fun that way for me and it's what I care about. So the first player we are going to be trading for when competing, we're going quarterback, which means, let's face it, this is mostly super flex because you don't often trade for QBs in a 1 QB league, though I am very curious to see if you found one. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
okay.
Give me this. All right, the first trade we have is 12-team Superflex. It is Tom Brady for Trey Lance and a 22 second. Tom Brady's worth 328. Trey Lance 576.5. The second 113. So a total of 690 to 328. Yes, overpaying. But Tom Brady is one of those guys that at this point in his life, because he is 44 years old, though the man will play till he's 64 if he so chooses to,
Absolutely.
that his dynasty value just will never match his production. And he's producing right now. I wouldn't feel great about this because I do just like Lance. I am a believer in the guy, but you're making me choose. I'm making me choose. I would do this for Tom Brady right now. Here's why. I want to win. And also, Brady's playing next year, man. Like, and a year and a half is way more than I'm normally willing to try and predict. So I'm absolutely okay with this. This is a beautiful trade. I love this because if my team's not good and I have Tom Brady on it, I think you're really just getting a first, right? Like Tom Brady, like it's usually Tom Brady for a first. That's the trade. If you can give me Lance, who's worth an early first, still now, and if you put him in this future class, he's probably one of the top QB prospects anyway. Plus, you're willing to throw a second on top. Yeah, this to me is awesome. Like, this is the perfect trade. This is what you should try to be doing. Honestly, if you're gonna leave the second out, if you're offering this for Brady, just try 1 for 1, see how it goes, because that age difference is literally 23. The age difference between Trey Lance and Tom Brady is more than how old Trey Lance is.
Yeah. Tom Brady could be Trey Lance's father.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I saw this trade, I really liked it because everything that you said, I mean, this is basically like, how badly do you want to win versus, how much do you weigh winning versus your future, I guess, roster value and dynasty in and of itself, right? Because a lot of us, I wouldn't say everybody, but I'd say the majority of dynasty managers love Trey Lance. And we love the idea of Trey Lance in a Kyle Shanahan offense on the Niners with the weapons that he has and the rushing upside that he brings as well. It just needs to kind of come together, and we need him to actually get the starting job over Jimmy Garoppolo, which we expect probably comes at some point by the end of the year, depending on their playoff situation and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at least moving into next year, then that should be very heavily Trey Lance, much more than what it is right now over Tom Brady. But, I can see very easily you kind of drafted Trey Lance maybe, and you might have expected that you were getting a full-time starter and your QB2 spot by like week 4, week 5. That hasn't necessarily happened. You're still really competing. Maybe you bought low on Matthew Stafford and he's been killing it. Maybe you just kind of have Jalen Hurts because you bought low on him last year. He's been doing really well for fantasy as well. You're still competing and you're in that range. And you're like, you know what? I need something that just solidify my quarterback spot, and I'm willing to move Trey Lance, who I can't wait much longer on because I'm competing for Tom Brady. And I 100% agree with you. I think the only possible way that he would retire after the end of this year is if he wins the Super Bowl and he's kind of just like, you know what, I've done like literally every record he's broken. He broke all of Drew Brees' records already this year, like all of that stuff, and then he wins the Super Bowl. It's number 8, and he's done. But even then, I still don't know if he wins the Super Bowl. I still don't know if he's retired or not. Like he's going for 9. He might go for 10.
Yeah. At this point, you don't bet that he's going to retire.
No, I don't. Honestly, even like his play, like he's on pace for like 5,050. Like there's no way. I don't think that's actually. He's probably around there. He's insane.
You're the
and
best,
that's
man.
been with a rotation of wide receivers. Like down the stretch when he gets AB back, Godwin gets healthy, Gronk comes back. Like he's been doing this for the past like month and a half with like half of his weaponry. He's been amazing.
Yeah.
So I think Tom Brady is like the quintessential go get this guy and overpay for him to help solidify a championship. And I would 100% do this Trey Lance and a second for Tom Brady. And I understand it from the other side as well.
All right, but let's go down to what I was saying before, something that I think is more along the lines of what you would normally see. Tom Brady for a late first and Myles Gaskin. I don't necessarily understand why Myles Gaskin is there for any reason whatsoever, but he is. Tom Brady's still worth 328, a late first 224, Gaskin 87.6 after the package adjustment 282. This is exactly what you're probably going to see, especially if a team is out of the playoffs and they have Tom Brady on their team. From what I've seen and from how I value all of this, you see a first come at you in your inbox and you usually just say yes. Like if anything, this guy rejected the Brady for a first and countered with just a random dude, like he just threw Myles Gaskin on because it got rejected, or this guy for some reason just super believes in Myles Gaskin and asked for him. If you do, sorry man, I don't see that happening. But this again, while the calculator, the analyzer has it 328 to 282 in favor of Brady, this is realistic based on dynasty value. And again, production and dynasty value maybe don't always see eye to eye. So I believe this is how it's going to go.
So I really wanted to pull this trade in here, and I personally put the 22 first late because you're able to do that now in the DLF Trade Analyzer. You're able to select, is it just the 22 first? Is it early, mid, late? And that changes the values of how that first is valued in the analyzer. So I purposely put it as late without actually looking to see in the actual league itself whether this was going to a competing team. That was just my assumption. And I think that's the question that a lot of people have if they have Tom Brady. I know I've had comments just in the past few days. What should I get from Tom Brady if I'm rebuilding? What should I try to get Tom Brady for if I'm competing? Like, is that late first, good enough? And it's 100% should be any contender should 100% be willing to send that first.
Yes.
If especially like if that first is like the 112.
Yeah, if that's yours.
in no way, shape, or form should that be preventing you from trading that for Tom Brady to win a championship.
Yep.
Because, more than likely, honestly, and the trade analyzer agrees, Brady's probably going to be better than what that first is value-wise anyway, because it's so late. You're not getting a quarterback with that 112, especially in next year's class, but in the majority of classes anyway, you're not getting a quarterback with 112. So I would say anywhere up to I think 106, a contender should be willing to trade their first round pick for Tom Brady. And I think that's the range of first that you should be baseline receiving if you have Tom Brady as a rebuilding team.
Yep. Everything you just said. Yep. All right, so let's just keep scrolling, right? Our next guy, Melvin Gordon. We talked about Javonte last week, so let's talk about the other side of this in Melvin Gordon. Now, this is going to be fun because Melvin Gordon in a 12-team 1 QB league comes in at 76.4 on the trade analyzer. He's a 28-year-old running back. This is what he should be coming in as. The problem is he's still got it. I mean, I didn't expect him to still be doing this well this late in the season. I really thought by now this would be Javonte's backfield. And it's not because of Javonte that it isn't. He's playing really, really well. It's just that Melvin Gordon isn't giving up that easy. So if you're telling me I can get Melvin Gordon for a 22 third, 22 fourth, and Adrian Peterson all day, because okay, I love when this happens. Melvin Gordon 76.4, the third, fourth, and Peterson comes in at 49.4. But what's really funny, the package adjustment is almost the cost of Peterson and the fourth. So
and would even out the trade as well.
Yeah, so yeah, thirds and fourths. If you can send a third or a fourth for, they could be 96 years old and have said, I'm retiring after the season 100% because I'm 96 years old and I'm still in the NFL, but I'm scoring 15 points a game. I will send that package of junk for you.
Just about anybody, honestly.
I'm just laughing in my head, picturing a 96-year-old man in an NFL, gear, like running a football, and the unfortunate consequences of when he gets tackled. My brain. I feel like you're just good with this too, Melvin Gordon, right?
I honestly debated putting this in the bad, like in the horrible trade section,
but it's really not. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, I put it in the I was like, I really thought about just throwing this in the horrible trades because this is so Melvin Gordon. But I was like, let me see what the analyzer has to say, because I bet you that it hates Melvin Gordon, and it does. And it came out to be separated by basically a late third round pick, like ultimately. And I think that is ridiculous. I think if this is the price for Melvin Gordon or somewhere around here, multiple thirds, a late second, again, if you're competing and you have your own second and it's like 211, 212, you should 100% be willing to send that for Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
So if that is the price, which it seems like based on this and a bunch of other trades that I saw in the Trade Finder, you should want Melvin Gordon on your team, because everything that we're saying about Javonte Williams, if you've been, if you consume a lot of fantasy content, a lot of people say, go out and get Javonte Williams because he could have a massive second half, because their strength of schedule for the remainder of the year against running backs is the best strength of schedule out of the entire NFL. It's the easiest out of all of them. So if that's one of the reasons why we love Javonte, should also be one of the reasons why we love Melvin Gordon. And, he could just so easily plug in and be an RB2 or a flex play for you, solidify that depth, and go win a championship.
Yeah, before we move on to the next one, a 22 third is worth 40.9. So two of those together is 81.8, which is more than Melvin Gordon. In reality, it will probably take an actual second. But like you said, if you're competing, you're
according to this, no, not really.
Yeah, go get Melvin Gordon. I'm going to go make some trades for Melvin Gordon now that I'm sitting here looking at this, especially because I have Aaron Jones everywhere and Cordarrelle Patterson, and I'm just going to stop talking because it's making me cry. Okay. Oh, these past few weeks. 12-team Superflex League. Oh, man, this one hurts my feelings too. Straight up, Melvin Gordon at 77.4 for Jalen Reagor, who comes in at 62.6. Remember that guy was like a mid-late first round pick?
Dude, he was a lot of people's wide receiver one that year.
Yeah, that's right.
I've been seeing that conversation coming up now all over on Twitter.
I mean, wide receiver one was a bit much, but even still, he was a first-round rookie pick, and now he's worth less than a 28-year-old running back, and that's not cool. I got to be honest. Yeah, I do this for Melvin Gordon, and because okay, let's do this even a little differently. Are you getting a second round pick for Jalen Reagor right now?
Oof. Maybe.
That's
Not from a
enough to say.
contender.
But since you're already saying
Wow.
maybe, probably not. But we just said we would definitely send a second for Melvin Gordon, which means this is a slam dunk Melvin Gordon.
Right. You
And
could phrase it rest of season. How many times are you starting Jalen Reagor on your team rest of season? How
to
many
feel good
times
about
are
it,
you
0.
starting Melvin Gordon?
Wait, how many weeks are there left in the season?
Like 6.
That many. Unless there's a bye. I don't remember when his bye is. The thing I will be okay with this is if I'm completely rebuilding, I will get any young wide receiver I can.
Mhm.
Like that's why I have a ton of Kadarius Toney on my teams, because before the season started, I started rebuilding on a couple of my teams and nobody wanted him. So it's just like, okay, young wide receiver, throw him my way. I had a bunch of teams with both Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor because, again, young wide receiver. So this trade does make absolute perfect sense for both sides. It's just, this was just me being super disappointed in what Jalen Reagor turned out into. That's what these feelings were coming out as. So yeah, this is the perfect thing. You either get a young wide receiver who hasn't lived up or hasn't done anything yet, and go throw at them for these guys that are probably worth early thirds and make that swap. And again, it sucks to lose a young wide receiver, but winning is worth it.
Winning is so worth it.
And let's talk about it monetarily, if that's the kind of person you are. Winning your league should give you your buy-ins for the next 2 to 3 years. In which case, oh no, you gave up your youth. Let me use a free year just to go get some. I mean, that's a way you can think about it. It's not necessarily the right way to think about it, but if it makes you feel better, that's what you do.
100%.
Yeah, damn right. Okay, let's go on to
the sadness will not end. The sadness will not end, Russ. I'm preparing you for this next one right now.
When did this first trade happen? That's like very important.
2 days ago. I'm pretty sure this happened within the injury window. Let me double check.
So the first trade we have is a 12-team Superflex league, and it is Keenan Allen for Robert Woods and a 23 first. Okay, so here's my assumption on what this deal is.
Yeah, it happened yesterday.
Yeah, my guess is the person who had Robert Woods is competing, got, Robert Woods tore his ACL, so now he's not in a good position. So this is pretty much a 23 first for Keenan Allen with Robert Woods just thrown in because he's sad.
I'm sad.
I have so many teams.
I had literally every single one of my fantasy leagues. I had Robert Woods. Every single one.
Okay,
I had to go in to redraft leagues, and I had to drop him, and I had to go into my safe leagues. And I had to It was so sad. It was not a good day. I did not like that at all.
Yeah, at all. I mean, come on. Odell Beckham signs in the same day Robert Woods coincidentally tears his ACL.
OBJ just tried to Mac Jones ankle tear Robert Woods, I guess, on the first day of practice.
I'm just saying, maybe they got the Chargers strength and conditioning people from last year with Tyrod Taylor.
Oh no,
too soon. Sorry. Okay, so if I'm a team that's competing, I just lost Robert Woods. Robert Woods is a 29-year-old wide receiver who just tore his ACL in week 10. That dude might not play next year.
Like the injury doctors are saying, like it's a good chance that he starts on the PUP next year, or some form
There's
of
no way he makes it before week 6.
He's gonna be really lucky if he is even healthy to start the season.
So in which case you're sending a 23 first and someone who will have so little value next year because
Julio Jones. That's basically where we're at.
But he didn't have the past of Julio Jones because no one respects Robert Woods' production for the past 4 years. So you're sending a 23 first and Robert Woods for Keenan Allen, a dude who will always score you points. It doesn't matter that they're the same age at all whatsoever. So, man, like this is probably great for both sides because Keenan Allen is 299.5. That 23 first by itself is 253, which even, right? Trade Analyzer being a part 30, 40 points is absolutely nothing. That's a third.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting because obviously the trade analyzer hasn't caught up to the Robert Woods news from the past like 4 days. So Robert Woods already being valued at 151, that's going to drop.
Yeah.
And then I just thought it was really interesting that this trade was basically already, pre-Robert Woods trade was only separated by 80 points,
Yeah.
which I thought was really interesting. And then so you drop Robert Woods down to under 100, and that's going to even it out, a lot right there. So and another thing with this too is, you're sending the first for Keenan Allen. A lot of people might not like to do that, especially a 2023 first. Like those are starting to be heavily coveted, especially in Superflex leagues.
Winning is worth it.
But again, winning is worth it. And Keenan Allen is going to be so good the remainder of the year because Justin Herbert
forgot that Mike Williams existed.
He remembered that Keenan Allen existed.
Yeah, you were definitely phrasing that in a better way for this situation. I was phrasing it in a way that again makes me sad. This is not a great show for us, man.
It's not.
Oh man,
it's not.
We have to make this better for us, right? I mean, who cares about these people watching? We care about you, but I talked about before. I just don't understand getting Robert Woods thrown in this. Like I didn't understand Myles Gaskin getting thrown in that other one. Like, what Robert Woods to a rebuilding team? Yeah. But again, getting that first is good enough. So whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe week 10 rolls around next year. Robert Woods comes back. You get a second for him. And
maybe they're subscribing to like the Derrick Henry thing where like his value's so suppressed right now that it has to go back up even a little bit to get 150% ROI or something like that.
Yeah, why not? Worth a shot. The next trade we have, same 12-team Superflex, is Keenan Allen for Cam Akers. Again, Keenan Allen, 299.5. Cam Akers, 160.4. Now, I get that the analyzer has this pretty different, like the value of Robert Woods, just to, tie it back together. But I think I could see this happening. I think I would see this in my league and not just like I would shrug at it like, okay, yeah, I see that. I get it. Because if you are not competing, Keenan Allen has no place on your team, even though Keenan Allen will still be Keenan Allen for the next 3 or 4 years. And it doesn't matter how old he gets. He's a slot receiver. You don't need to be fast. It doesn't matter. Like Larry Fitzgerald was 47 and still playing that.
He'll be like Jordy Nelson or Larry Fitz. Yeah.
And then Cam Akers, the idea of getting a stud running back. I hate having to say that. Back. Next year, assuming he comes back healthy, is worth that value difference if you're the kind of person that believes he can come back from the Achilles. Hey, Deontay Foreman has a job now. So, I mean, Cam Akers isn't dead yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for this. I get that there's a decent, about 140 point spread between the two, which is, what do we think is like a second-ish?
Yeah, around.
So... yeah, that's fine. I get it. I would rather have Keenan over Akers because I'm not the kind of guy that believes Akers walk back and has a full-time job. I do think Henderson is doing well enough to at least cause a split that wouldn't have been there if Akers stayed healthy. So I'll take Keenan on this, but I get it.
Would you replace Cam Akers with ETN? You still feel the same?
I get it more. That goes down to positioning of your team. I don't know how I feel about ETN in the first place. That's a lie. I don't know how I feel about the Jaguars in the first place, which was what makes it a lot harder. And the fact that James Robinson is, again, like the same thing with Henderson.
Very good.
How do you just take him off the field and pretend he didn't just crush it for 2 years? So I don't know what ETN's walking into, but I do believe ETN walking in next season, most likely 100% healthy, because he's going to have 12 months to recover. His value will go up from where it is right now. And especially the second he steps foot on a field for practice and we see a video of him making a cut and catching a ball out of the backfield. Yeah. He's up to his original price.
Yeah. And then I believe I know the answer. J.K. Dobbins as well.
I mean, I like Dobbins more than I like ETN. So yeah.
Yeah. Just throwing out all those out for the year running backs. But yeah, I'm with you on Akers and ETN. I would take Dobbins over Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
But I kind of get it. But then,
I lump them all into, I get it, but I would still probably take Keenan, especially. Okay, let me rephrase that. I would send all of those for Keenan if I was competing. If I was sending Dobbins, I would try and get a depth player back also, but probably would just accept it if they countered straight up.
You could like, would you do if you had Dobbins as a contender? I would do like a Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon kind of thing. I'd be like, oh,
That would be beautiful. Yeah,
that would
exactly. Perfect.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm about to say now I have to see if I have that anywhere, but I only have Dobbins on one team, and that team is so bad. So not looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, those are our players. So we're going to get into horrible trades. And all right, 3, 2, 1, scroll. Wow. Okay, so the analyzer hasn't caught up on this yet. Let's just say that for what it is.
Okay.
Oh my, no. Okay. I need to take a breath.
You know what's funny about these horrible trades while you compose yourself is I've typically found horrible trades where one of the players that we talk about is like drastically undersold. You know, this one
Quite the opposite.
is the complete opposite.
And I love how I was about to ask about. Oh, let me take my hands off my face. I was about to ask about this guy because it fits in exactly with what we were talking about before. And beautiful transition work, Addison.
Oh, thank you.
Because this is in a 12-team 1-quarterback league, Melvin Gordon for Derrick Henry and a second.
And
we were talking before saying that a second gets you Melvin Gordon, 113.5 in the analyzer for that second, for 76.4 Melvin Gordon. Okay. Derrick Henry is not worth 623.5 anymore. Mm-hmm. Let's just put that out there. This has not caught up yet. But you don't need to do that. Like, you could have picked one or the other. And if you pick Derrick Henry, you get the second coming back with Melvin Gordon. You don't add to Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is bad. And it's really funny, too. What I liked about this was we talked about Derrick Henry last week, right? And the addendum of, like, this is really – Derrick Henry could be somebody that you, as a rebuilding team, target at a really suppressed value and then be able to flip later on for more of a return on investment. And we also talked about, you know, how you and I, like, we were both Derrick Henry managers and we're still competing. So, like, how low on the running back totem pole do you go?
We did not get that low.
We did not, you know, our limbo, like, our backs just don't go this low on the running back limbo here down to Melvin Gordon.
No.
Yeah, this was not it. No, I did not like this one.
No. Aptly named horrible trade.
And again, the caution. Team B is giving up the highest value asset and the most pieces.
And the most.
I love seeing that caution.
All right, we hope you learned something. We hope you go make some trades. We hope you comment about the trades you make, or you want to know if you should make the trades. Throw them in the comments. Dynasty Trade Show. DLF YouTube channel. I still am not used to the mirrored thing, even though I've been using StreamYard for like 2 years at this point. Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes, @AmazeHayes_. Catch you next time.